For over 60 years, they have been ruling by might and force.
They kill people who they see.
They've committed crimes against humanity.
They have no authority whatsoever to rename the country. They have no authority whatsoever to rule the nation. Myanmar.
August 15, 2007, Burma's junta increased the cost of fuel by 500%. The junta cut off the country's phone networks and cut off the internet. Journalists and the people that spoke to the journalists, they were attacked and arrested.
The aim of the protest was to delay the increase because people were facing a dire situation. All prices were high, a very difficult situation. The monks marched, demanding price reductions and reciting the love and kindness mantra. We wanted to respond to these brutal actions by peaceful means. We want to express how poor the people are and how they face great difficulty in living. We want our elected leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, and other political prisoners inside Burma released. And we want to gain back our democracy and human rights.
The history of the monks is simply one of nonviolence. Really, they won't even kill a mosquito on their arm. And so when the military started to shoot them, kill them, imprison them, disappear them, it's quite a break in the history of Burma and the destruction of their own clergy in a way.
People were in front of the quarters, trying to protect the monastery, and they just drove their cars right into these people. Then they started shooting, headed into the crowd, and when they found the front door, they rammed it with a car. Then they found the monks inside and beat them. Then they shot people. About 200 monks died, I think. About 20,000 monks were arrested.
In 1948, after World War II, Burma got its independence from England. From 48 to 1962, Burma was a democracy. Then in 62, Burma's General Ne Win staged a coup and abolished Burma's democracy, freedom, and human rights.
The whole population in Burma decided to overthrow General Ne Win.
The butcher of Rangoon, as some call him.
1988 was the first rebellion. It was a gigantic sweep of the universities. Young kids stood up for Aung San Suu Kyi in '88, and they massively got arrested.
Because not only one city demonstrated against the regime, it is the whole nation came out to the street and demonstrated for 1 month and 14 days.
Of 1988, the military regime again started shooting thousands of protesters nationwide. We would see dying people everywhere, and we would see all those corpses disappearing.
10,000 were killed at least, and that generation is still leading the charge. The three main leaders are in jail now. They're probably being tortured.
Right before the election, they started arresting some of the political leaders, including Aung San Suu Kyi.
The goal is just one. We want a democratic government elected by the people in free and fair elections.
The military has shown no willingness to release Aung San Suu Kyi and let her run in the upcoming campaign.
Our leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, and her party, National League for Democracy, want more than 80% of parliamentarian seats. The military junta, they literally detained her in jail. And until today, they continue to ask the regime to hand over the power, but it's still being refused.
Yeah, what military regime in Burma believe is anyone who against them is enemy. So therefore, they put many people into prisons. Last week, one man solo protest activist, his name is Wong Than, he did a solo protest, but he was given to life imprisonment. That happened in Burma.
I requested the superintendent to allow me some food and to take a shower. They added a second iron bar to my shackles to punish me for this. After 1 year, they took off my shackles. I could not walk anymore because of bad nutrition and the shackles. I was paralyzed.
My friend Timau, who was a student leader, at the time he was sentenced to death. His father and mother were sentenced to 5 years of being his parents. They are not involved in politics.
That was their crime, being his parents.
Yeah. And his sister and brother, who are only high school students, and who joined the demonstration because they know that their brother was captured. That's why they joined the demonstration as a kid. They were sentenced to 7 years to 9 years, you know, like that. It's happened.
When I was transferred to Minjan prison, they blindfolded and handcuffed me from behind. As I walked to the cell, they beat me. When I fell down, they shackled me and put me in solitary confinement for over 7 years.
First thing that hits you is really the smell. It's just, it smells like human waste. And there's nowhere for them to go because all around is protected land. So they can't go off, you know, into these different areas. All the kids these kids get sick, right? And we were actually standing outside of one hut when this little sick baby just kind of diarrheaed. And they don't do anything. You can't clean it up. What are you going to clean it up with? So they just kind of cover it over with some dust, and they end up sleeping on it later.
$400,000 taka for the purpose of marriage. After marriage, I've born one child, and I did not inform them about my child's birth. They arrest me, and then for 7 years in jail.
The situation in Burma is very bad. There are no any opportunity to get higher education, free movement, social rights, education, religious rights. Everything is limited here. Our future is darkness. If we stay here, our future will be darkness.
I cannot explain how they set up their health system. The hospitals are only the building. There are no medicine and no facility in the hospital or clinic.
There was no good medical care for them in Burma, so they'd come across, and so they get this pass to come from Burma for a day, and they'd come to this clinic.
Every day we have about 300 to 500 patients coming to us. There is no healthcare service, so whatever problem happen in the community, like malaria, diarrhea, or reproductive health, malnutrition, you can see many different illnesses. Also, people living inside Burma, especially, they are very vulnerable to be more forced relocation, especially children crossing the border. We see that more severe cases are from Burma. By the time they see that there is no more treatment or no hope, they come here.
The medical care program, we are trying to reach to the villagers, or sometimes we can met with my landmine victim.
Every year, 30 to 50 landmine injury referred to us.
When the military came into your village, literally they burned down your places. They kill people who they see, regardless of women or children.
The troops will come close to their village, and then they start to escape and hiding in another region. They just only can carry their one basket and with their baby and with their small things to hide in for temporarily.
Looking over there, there was a fire and an ash burning sound, and so I said, "What is that?" And said, "My mom will tell me that that's the house that our houses that were burned down by the soldiers." So that's where I realized that I will never be able to go back to my place.
Well, 3,000 villages have been destroyed. And that is an immense number of people. It isn't people, it's villages.
Villages.
And
Please,
inside, when they're hit, there's also a policy of raping the women in those villages as they go. It's a state policy, and the soldiers actually rape all those women as they burn those towns down.
So what they do is they try to keep some of the portion, the food, rice, that in a barn, in a hiding place. And so sometime when the military saw that, they will try to put on the landmine around that, so that when the villagers go and get their food, they will attack by the landmines, or they will be killed by that.
A problem with landmines is that it gets really wet, and so the landmines will slip and slide, so they never really know where the landmines are.
The villagers, they do not know where are the landmines. So behind of you, you have gun. In front of you, you will have landmine, but they have no choice.
They also take toll money from people. For example, if someone would step on a mine, they would charge the family money because they destroyed government equipment.
If the war never stop, there will be more and more problems coming without solving the root cause. You cannot solve the problem here.
For many years now, even when I was young, when I was back in Burma, people would tell us not to go outside at night. Your sons and daughters could be easily taken as porters. For boys, they will force them to serve the military. And for girls, who knows what they would do.
Porters are essentially young kids that are picked up out of the village and taken from their families and turned into carrying equipment into the malaria areas where you're going to get ill regularly. You're going to die out there or die of the heat. The jungle essentially is a very tough place to exist in. And that porter really means you're out there slugging in the swamps for an oil company. The porters are essentially slaves of that economy.
That's where they need to build railroad, or they need to build a pipeline, for example, with Unicol, and now it's Chevron. And so that's where they need laborers.
And they will have to drill, they will have to pave the road. These are human machines they're using. I received an email a week before Cyclone Nargis actually hit Burma. That email was forwarded inside Burma a week before Cyclone Nargis hit. And what was the military regime waiting for? Only because they didn't want to spend their money.
When we went to Bogale, which is one of the hardest hit, biggest towns in the Irrawaddy Delta, On the road that leads to the town, we were able to talk to some families. 30 people living in this home that was probably the size of a car, and the roof was gone. And it was just a bunch of families that all lost their homes, so they were all living together. We did see a lot of aid coming in, but not for the disaster. I mean, the Irrawaddy Delta, almost 2 million people were homeless and starving. And we were there, 2 weeks, we saw maybe 3 Red Cross trucks.
They're very much afraid of the Western power, United States, United Kingdom, and French. And they were very much afraid that they will take over the country, and very much afraid that they will come into Burma and they will save people's life.
I mean, the U.S. had a ship, right on the coast there for weeks when people were starving, and they couldn't even get that ship to be ported.
We have reached out on a number of occasions. I think he told me this morning 15 different times to the leadership of Myanmar to get them to open up. So it has not been us that have been deaf and dumb in response to the pleas of the international community, but the government in Myanmar.
They waited. They literally waited. That shows cruelty.
Anything is allowed. Life is nasty, brutal, and short in this country. You do what you're told. That's all.
We are not soldiers, we are not fighters, we are not politicians.
We are here today on the anniversary of the Saffron Revolution to call for justice and criminal accountability. The military regime in Burma has been in power for over 60 years. They have been ruling by might and force. They have raped their people, they've killed them. They've committed crimes against humanity, war crimes, and genocide.
Without recognizing the 1990 election results, holding the 2010 elections and supporting the 2009 election is in violations of the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights, Article 21, Paragraph 3.
The United Nations has issued many resolutions, and there have been several envoys. I mean, over 30 resolutions, over 8 envoys, yet no results. Why would we sit down with Than Shwe, Senior General Than Shwe, and negotiate with him? We wouldn't do it with Hitler. We wouldn't do it with Saddam. We wouldn't do it with Stalin.
I would like to urge everyone, of course, everyone, and including the people in the United States, to no longer recognize the military junta in Burma as a government.
We can't really sit here and talk about democracy. You need to really talk about justice first. We can't sit with Senior General Than Shwe and his cohorts. We need to bring them to court and make them liable for the crimes that they've committed against the people. It's not enough to speak about democracy without really talking about justice. In order to have sustainable justice and peace in Burma, we need to replace military might with the rule of law.
We can no longer wait. We need our democratic government to be reinstalled, and we need our human rights and freedom to be in place today, not tomorrow.